Cool.
Right.
All right, here we go.
Alive, guys. We alive.
Floodgates are open.
Yes.
People joining. We're at 50.
Got to get prepared, guys.
Yeah. We know which part of the world you're in. We know which part of the world you're in.
This is how I got to do the call, guys. Better safe than sorry.
Geez, hopefully we can edit this part out.
I'm ready. I'm prepared. If anybody coughs, it's going back on, Grant. I'm warning you, mate. Don't know how it spreads, this thing. Don't know how it spreads. Got the mask ready.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Almost top of the hour.
Nearly there.
So for the early birds, if they haven't used Zoom before, we've got a Q&A button, and we've also got a chat button. So Q&A is great for questions. You can also upvote other questions that you see that you would have asked or you would like to see answered. And the chat is just great for chatting. So you can chat amongst yourselves. You can chat directly to any of the hosts today. And hey, Kevin. Kevin's on board. Good to see.
You guys can completely ignore the presentation and just chat with each other if you want to.
Yeah. If you stumbled onto the wrong webinar, but you just want to chat to people in the webinar, go right ahead.
Oh, we've got Noel on as well.
I thought I denied his registration.
I don't know. I thought we spoke about this.
No, he's joining 30 times, remember? Getting the numbers up.
All right, so we've just hit the top of the hour. Might give it a couple of minutes to maybe 2 minutes, maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, give it a couple of more minutes.
4 minutes, yeah.
As people are coming in. It's always a bit tricky if you haven't used Zoom before. You've got to download the application. You've got to work out how to view, how to listen.
Mm-hmm.
I find every presentation app tends to show things a little bit differently and it's a bit different.
What an uncanny likeness, Grant, for that fellow on the slide to you. I don't know if you made these slides or not, but I'd say that's Grant Shelley walking there.
It's a bit of a worry, isn't it?
Look at how happy he is as well. I've never seen
I have got a pair of jeans in that exact color. I call them my survey jeans.
Very nice.
And this is exactly how Grant does site surveys, guys. He's got that big smile on his face when he's walking around.
He does look where he's walking.
Got no idea, just looks at his phone.
Autopilot surveys all the way. I don't have to look. I don't have to look anymore. Do it with my eyes closed.
Very cool.
All right. Another minute, I guess, and then we can go, I think.
Mm.
How are we going here? Very good.
So in the times of coronavirus, this is the best way to do a presentation, I think. Webinars. Nobody needs to fly around. Nobody needs to shake hands. Still got my mask ready though. Still got my mask ready.
Yeah. All right, we might kick off, but maybe I'll just put a bit of housekeeping out there
Yeah.
for everyone that's jumped on. So thanks for attending today's webinar. So this is the APAC webinar for Ekahau Analyzer. And so, today we've got a couple of people that are going to be talking about the product and our product set. But before we do that, just a little bit of housekeeping. So we have two options in Zoom that allow you to communicate. So one of those is the Q&A button. And so using that, you can ask questions. You can also upvote other questions that you would like to see answered. So, all the good ones that are right at the top that people would like to see. So, please use that. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions throughout the session today. And then we also have the chat. So you've got the capability to chat to one another, to the panelists, and just to generally chat amongst yourselves. So, please feel free to use that as well. We do like to keep these sessions nice and interactive. So even though everyone's on mute, please use your keyboards and, yeah, ask away. But without further ado, I might pass it over to Amin.
Thanks. Excellent. All right. So super excited to have everybody on. I think we're at 86 attendees at the moment.
No, we hit 90.
We've hit 90. Fantastic and growing. Look, I wanted to say a couple of things. So firstly, even from a pre-registration perspective, this has to be one of our most popular, feature or product launches. And so there's clearly a big demand there. A lot of questions that even we're feeling sort of day to day. So really looking forward to sharing Ekahau Analyzer with everybody. Before we kicked off, I went through the registrant list, and I think this is really good. Obviously, it's an APAC webinar. It's in our time zones, but I've counted people from India, China, Singapore, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, which is Australia anyway, Taiwan, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Cambodia, and strangely enough, Peru and Denmark. So if you're from Peru and Denmark, welcome to APAC. But really excited to have everybody from everywhere joining, which is great to see. Great to see such a Finnish company having an impact around the world. So can you move to the next slide, Grant? So introducing the team. We've got Anthony Prasad, who heads up APAC, based in Singapore, as you could tell earlier on. It kind of made it obvious in the region. Heads up APAC, and is responsible for pretty much the rest of Asia, or all of Asia. Myself, I'm in Kroll. I'm responsible for Australia and New Zealand. And Grant Shelley, who's the APAC sales engineer and responsible for everything, right? I'm not sure what you don't do, Grant, but
I'm not responsible.
Okay, he's irresponsible for everything, but he's the guy that we all lean on. So
special shout out to Shigeru, our guy in Japan as well, who I know is joining us on this.
Big shout out to Shigeru and to the team in the Philippines as well.
Philippines team as well do a great job. Yeah,
they do a fantastic job. Cool. All right, so we normally kick these off with an update around the events that we're holding in the region. And as most of you already know, because of what's happening in the region, there's been a stop on some key stuff. So Cisco PTX was delayed, I believe, due to the coronavirus, and Cisco Live has been completely cancelled. So we've had official confirmation that there won't be an event this year. Now we are still trying to hold a catch up in Melbourne, so we still plan to be in the area. So if you are in the area, keep an ear out. We'll probably do something informally. So very keen to catch up with you. If you've got some accommodation or some flights booked and you're still going to be there, we'd love to see you. From a class perspective, we've got a bunch of classes happening around the region, around ECSC. In April, 28th of April, 1st of May in Sydney, we've got ECSC Design. In Singapore as well, and in KL, the final date to be advised. But that's going to be super exciting to see that growing in the region. ECSC troubleshooting, which is the new offshoot, which is for you guys that are out in the field and need to drill deeper around the troubleshooting side of things. So we've got that in Melbourne in April, and Sydney April as well, and also in Brisbane. So a lot of classes. Our partner Digger Data is working hard to get attendees happening there, and they're doing some pretty good deals around accommodation. You know, if you're coming from out of town as well. So please reach out to them as well.
Just quickly, sorry, Amin. We are also planning an ECSC in Korea. So our partner in Korea, we're hoping to announce that soon as well. So around the region, Japan as well, we're looking to see we can announce one in Japan this year as well. So keep an eye out on our webpage for those ECSC announcements. And just back on the calendar, we're hoping to also be doing the Aruba Atmosphere and Ruckus Big Dogs when those are announced. But obviously, we don't know the date for those, so those are not on the calendar there. Yeah, go ahead, Amin.
No, cool, absolutely. And then the advanced class. So we recently held our first advanced class, which was very popular, and doing the next one on the 28th and the 30th of April. Now you've got the link to register. If you're interested, reach out to us. Click on the link. I'll reach out to our partners at Digger Data. Cool. Now over to Anthony.
It's Mr. Prasad.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Amin. Okay, so Ekahau Connect. This is the Ekahau bundle to get at the moment. This is it, right? This is the all-in-one package that we sell today. It was launched last year, and this is by far the most popular bundle that people are getting from us today. Now, the great thing about Ekahau Connect is it's all-in-one, right? You get the Ekahau Pro, you get the Ekahau Survey, you get the Ekahau Capture, you get the Ekahau Cloud. And what are we talking about today? We're talking about Ekahau Analyzer. Now, interesting thing, we were talking before this call, some people are asking, well, how much does Ekahau Analyzer cost? They've seen some snippets about it and really interested to purchase it. You actually, you guys are getting it as part of the Ekahau Connect bundle. So, you know, that's another advantage of being an Ekahau customer is we don't have these multiple tiers of licensing and pricing. It's just very easy. Ekahau Connect all in one. That's what you get, right? So, so that's the value that I really wanted to reiterate is the Connect bundle is the all-in-one package. You get everything in the bundle. The critical piece of that is the Ekahau Sidekick, and then all the components that work together to bring that solution together. So next slide, Grant. So the Sidekick being the core foundation of that, right? Ekahau Sidekick has replaced all USB adapters. So if beginning this year, a lot of you would have actually realized that we do not sell the USB adapters anymore. And a lot of people have been asking us why. You know, we still want Ekahau Pro, we want the USB adapter. The reason is the Sidekick is just more powerful, faster, more accurate. And it is, and it should be, the go-to tool for anybody going on site to do site surveys, Wi-Fi analysis, monitoring of the Wi-Fi on the site. There really should be no other tool that you use with for that reason. And Ekahau Sidekick is the go-to industry tool to do that. So that is why the Connect package, the central component of that is the Sidekick tool. So if you want more information regarding, we've done lots of comparisons and we've got a lot of material that shows USB adapters compared to the Sidekick, but and Grant can talk all day around the benefits of using a Sidekick as opposed to the other tools out there. But there really is no other tool that should be used for Wi-Fi analysis, Wi-Fi site surveys, rather than the Ekahau Sidekick. So before this, what you needed to do was connect the Sidekick to the laptop, walk around, collect the data using the laptop. Now, of course, when we launched Ekahau Connect last year, we added the iPad as an alternative to using the laptop to do that. People love that, right? They embrace the change, the efficiency, the speed that they were walking around sites, capturing data, and the battery life was a big reason why people wanted to use iPads to walk around sites and analyze sites. The great thing, well, one of the issues initially was that you needed to capture that data, right? You needed to capture that data using the laptop, go back to your main site, download it, and then analyze that data. One of the requests was, wouldn't it be great if we could do some real-time analytics while still using that form factor, or maybe even better form factor? Like, what if I could use an iPhone instead of an iPad? So that I'm not going to steal all the thunder, Grant. I know you're really excited to jump into this, but that's essentially what we're going to be able to do with the analyzer, and Grant's going to talk to you guys about that. But next slide. So next slide is the transition, right? The transition that we want to bring. Oh, sorry, before I jump into that. So analyzer, so this is what we're talking about today. So this is the new announcement. This is the latest and greatest tool that Ekahau have announced as an add-on to the Connect pack. And this thing, you're going to see it. So we're going to do a live demo for you, and hopefully everything goes well. You know what happens sometimes when we do live things. We'll see how we go. But this thing is your solution to real-time analysis of your Wi-Fi, real-time analysis of the airspace, right? So being able to see any interference in those spectrums, 2.4 gig, 5 gig, and being able to do this anytime, anywhere, using a mobile device, using a Sidekick. So that is what we're announcing. Well, we're announcing in Asia Pacific, let me put it that way, today on this webinar. We're going to show it to you. We're going to talk to you about it. Any questions, let us know. But we're really excited about what we're bringing to the market. This is what we believe a really funky tool that people are just going to embrace and use to live monitor their sites. So next slide. This is the transition that we've been building, and that over the last 2 to 3 years with the Sidekick, we've allowed our customers to transition from, right? So traditionally, when you use spectrum analysis and wanted to analyze your sites, you use these very complicated technical tools. Customers weren't interested in doing it. They would give it to the real Wi-Fi experts to do. We moved into, when Ekahau first launched, into USB adapters and plugging tools into your laptop to analyze and fix your Wi-Fi. Again, very technical. Customers weren't interested in doing it. Very SI focused. Niche partners we would work with to bring this to market. Now the transition since then, using the Sidekick, using the laptop, really transitioned that into the customer space, where customers were really interested in using this solution, getting their partners to do this more and more. It became much more mainstream. The Connect that we launched last year with the iPad, that not just made our partners really happy because they were able to speed up the site surveyability, the accuracy using the Sidekick, using the iPad, do it nonstop for 8 hours if they wanted to, and now with the analyzer and with the iPhone launch, this is the Michael Jackson animation that I put, that took me weeks to do this. So I hope you guys appreciate this animation here. So this is what we want to see going on. So this is how Grant does his site surveys now, is moonwalking across sites. But really, what we're enabling is the speed, the accuracy, the efficiency, and anytime, anywhere, being able to analyze your sites. So that's what we're hoping to bring with the iPhone, with the iPad, with the analyzer. and with the new Connect bundle that that we've brought to market. So so with that, let me pass it over to Grant, who's going to dig in and dive into the analyzer, Ekahau Analyzer. Over to you, Grant.
All right, thanks, Anthony.
Hey,
I know
Grant,
you were supremely proud of that slide right there. So you know, it's worth just. I mean, I think we'll just play it again, just so you can,
rightly so.
you can really live in the moment.
Hey, Grant, before you kick off, there's been a couple of questions around Android, and I'm sure there'll be some more as well. So do you want to touch on that? Android support.
Look, you know, we typically don't comment too much on the roadmap, but you know, I do think the Android discussion becomes a lot more relevant now that we have an application for the iPhone. You know, so I don't really want to comment too much more other than that. Some similar questions have come up before. I'm sure the development team are looking at a lot of this stuff. I think it's a fantastic idea. You know, I do think it's something that we should be looking at, but I'm not a developer. But yeah, I mean, you know, I know Anthony has been asking, bugging the development team, you know, for an Android variant on his Note 10. I think is a Note 10 you've got now. I don't know. You upgrade your Androids pretty often, but yeah, I do think that would be a fantastic addition. So you know, we do treat these kind of questions pretty seriously. We take them back to our, you know, to the development team, to management, and you know, we look to see what we can do with that on the roadmap.
Cool.
Okay. So let me just, I'm just going to move a couple of bits and pieces here. So I mean, really, with, you know, when Anthony's talking about the mobility side of it, I mean, we think about now, the world is really moving towards mobility. So, you know, we want to have a device that we can, you know, potentially, you know, we've already got the ability to survey with a mobile device. You know, now we can look at it from the troubleshooting perspective. And what I've typically found when I would go out on site, you know, I would do customer proof of concepts for Ekahau and previous jobs. You know, you go out and you do a site survey, and usually you've got to stop doing the site survey and you've got to start doing some troubleshooting because, you know, there might be some sort of an issue occurring. And so the nice thing I like with Analyzer is that you've got that capability now on an iOS device. So whether it's an iPhone, whether it's an iPad, you know, you've got that capability. You can do your site survey, something doesn't seem quite right, and now you can start to drill down into, you know, signal strength. You've got SNR, you've got channel, you know, channel quality, connectivity, and you've got live spectrum. And so there's nothing else on the market that's able to do that right now, because we are leveraging the power of the Sidekick. So we are tethering the Sidekick, you know, either via Thunderbolt 3, which is USB-C, or Lightning. We're plugging that in. We're using the Sidekick, you know, ears to look at the network, and we're getting that display really crystal clear on our iOS device. And so we've really tried to, at Ekahau, streamline how that process looks. And so we sort of call it like a traffic light scenario. So really we've got green is good, red is bad. So when you boot up the app for the first time, you're greeted with the screen that you've got, you can see there. You know, so we can see, okay, signal strength, SNR looks good, hang on, channel quality looks poor. And so then we can, you know, tap into channel quality and we can start to drill down and we can start to find out, we can troubleshoot what's actually happening. So it's a very easy way to be able to get, you know, to start the troubleshooting process from a mobility perspective. You know, we don't need to load in a floor plan to start looking at that kind of stuff. We can literally plug in the Sidekick, launch the app, and away we go. So, you know, we can drill down into things like, you know, RSSI and SNR. So, you know, we get instant access to all your Wi-Fi details. So where you are at that point in time, what can the Sidekick see? We've got instant access to that. You know, we can look at primary and secondary signal for redundancy and roaming, which is fantastic. Most Wi-Fi networks these days are probably going to be high density. They're probably going to have multiple access points all operating on the same SSID for overlap purposes. So we can see that very, very clearly. And, you know, we can identify and we can locate unauthorized access points on the network. We can drill down into SNR. So, you know, when we're looking at that, we can look at the signal quality of the network, you know, so, you know, which is super helpful, particularly, you know, on a mobile platform. We can also look at, you know, the performance analysis, you know, based on different clients and applications, how they're going to perform on the Wi-Fi network as well. So we can look at channel utilization. And so, you know, I'll show in the demo what this sort of looks like. You know, maybe people that have been on some of our webinars before have got a bit of an idea of what that'll look like, but, you know, it's a bit of eye candy, so to speak. But, you know, that channel utilization really allows us to, you know, quickly determine which channels are overutilized. And the nice thing here is that we can orientate the iOS device in, you know, in portrait or landscape view. You know, so we can look at just 2.4, or we can look at 2.4 and 5 gig, even on an iPhone, you know, which I think is fantastic. You know, we can quickly identify network config, you know, issues and errors. And, you know, we can start to work around optimizing channels that are suffering, you know, from high noise, maybe high interference, things of that nature. So we can start to drill down into individual channels, which is, you know, we can sort of see there. We can also look at, you know, roaming behaviors, and we've also got spectrum analysis. So let's just sort of break that down into two parts. So roaming can be a pretty tricky thing, you know, particularly with Wi-Fi networks. Usually, you know, we're going to deploy a Wi-Fi network, and we're probably not just going to use it for data. Like we mentioned before, we're going to have, you know, some signal overlap, you know, maybe for voice services and things like that. So being able to determine what the roaming behavior looks like on your iOS device, you know, is going to allow you to get a better view of, okay, how are my clients going to operate on the Wi-Fi network? So, you know, we can actively test the network from the iOS device. You know, we can verify if there's sufficient overlap, and, you know, we can monitor different roaming behavior. So you can actually see on the screenshot, I'm just going to turn so I can get a better look at the picture so I describe it properly. So we've got currently the connected access point, so the kitchen AP. So, you know, we've got some data there based on the channel, the RSSI, number of access points that are on that channel, and the utilization. We can look at roaming candidates. So what access points are around us that we are likely to roam to. Now, roaming candidates is always going to be, you know, a little bit different depending on the iOS device, and a lot of different factors. You know, Apple spend a lot of time on their roaming algorithms, but a lot of the time it is going to be based on a couple of factors, and, you know, RSSI and SNR are going to be, you know, at the top of the heap most of the time. So it gives us a look at the roaming candidates, and then it also gives us a look at the roaming history. So we're keeping track of where has the device been, where is it at now, where is it likely going to be going to. So this can be really handy if you've got, you know, sticky clients and things like that. You know, maybe you're having some issues with voice handoff, which can be really tricky, you know, because voice, we need, we're very sensitive to latency and things like that. So, you know, really, really helpful to be able to do that, and to be able to do that from a mobile device as well. And then we've got the spectrum. So I'm sure a lot of people have seen the spectrum analysis on the Sidekick. So, you know, super high resolution, super high speed. We've now got that on a mobile device. So, you know, the ability to look into the spectrum and to actually see what's actually happening at that point in time on a mobile device, you know, that's a new thing as well. And so, you know, I find that that's really fantastic as well. So, you know, when I'm using that Connect pack, I've got the iPad, I can do the site survey on the iPad. And then, you know, if I need to deep dive into any of the other elements, I can literally just swipe across. I've got Analyzer right there. I can look at the spectrum. I can look at the SNR. I can look at the roaming behavior almost immediately. And then obviously, you know, with that spectrum analysis, it allows us to identify and troubleshoot, you know, different interference sources as well. So let me just, we'll finish off with one more slide. So I know we're saying it's now available for the first time. Maybe not quite. We're about a week late. You know, we're doing this webinar about a week after the US guys. So, you know, if you are a current Ekahau Connect subscriber, you can jump on the App Store. It should be available in your region now. If you search Ekahau, or if you search Analyzer, it is Analyzer with a Z, not an S. But if you search for it, you should be able to find it. You can download it, log in with your Connect details, and you'll be able to start playing with it straight away. So if you're an existing Connect subscriber, there's also no cost involved for that too. So, you know, anyone that was already on Connect, you get access to, you know, to the app at no charge, which I think is a, you know, a pretty good deal. So let's sort of break that down. So, you know, there's a lot of benefits here as well. You know, so if we think about, you know, the capability to do a site survey, you know, we've tried, you know, over the years to make it as easy as possible. And sometimes that may not always be the case, but if you think about Analyzer, you know, the ability to give an iOS device and a Sidekick to some on-site staff, they may not be technically savvy, they should be able to press the button to turn the Sidekick on and launch Analyzer, and they can very quickly, from the traffic light, understand what's wrong with the network and relay that information back to the Wi-Fi expert that might be off-site. And then they can even deep dive into, you know, where the actual issue is. They can, you know, look at the spectrum, for example, and they can provide that information back to the off-site expert. So the, you know, the capability for, you know, on-site staff sort of expands as well. So super easy to navigate. You know, if you've used a modern, you know, smart device, anything, you know, Android or iOS, you shouldn't have any troubles sort of, you know, functioning with this. You know, and so the ability to quickly identify on the fly with a mobile device. You know, when I travel now, I've always got my phone handy, and now I can literally leave the Sidekick in my backpack, you know, power it on, plug it into the iPhone, and I can literally start troubleshooting on the spot. And so particularly when I'm traveling, I'm at hotels and airports, I can very, very quickly, you know, find out what's going on with the, you know, with the bad Wi-Fi. So, you know, so just keep in mind, you do need a Sidekick. You do need, you know, a USB adapter of some description. So depending on the Sidekick you've got, you might have a micro USB to USB-C adapter, in which case it will connect in with an iPad, no problem, an iPad Pro, I should say. Otherwise, there is the iPhone or the Apple camera adapter is what they call it. And it's basically Lightning to USB-A. And I would say use the proper Apple products because they've got, I think they call it the MFI chip in it that sort of does a bit of an authentication there. You do want to make sure you get the proper unit so it's going to function correctly. So I think we're at the demos part. Does that sound pretty good? It
does. Hey, can we throw a couple of questions out there? They're kind of coming in thick and fast. So sure. I'll throw some relatively light ones to you. So reporting, can you, the reporting that comes out of it? The question from Jitendra is, can you export it?
At the moment, you can't, but that is coming.
Yeah.
So we are at version 1.01 at the moment. We are coming with the ability to export to the cloud and some other bits and pieces. I might have already said too much. I I shouldn't be talking about this, but the intention is that you will be able to get the data out of the application. What I've been doing at the moment is I've literally just been doing a screen record on my iOS device. So literally swipe down. I've got a little record button there. You can see that flashing. I hit that, and then I'm back to the app, and then I just start. You know, I start recording and doing what I need to do. So so as an example, let me just if I stop this for a second, and we'll do a little bit of jumping around. So I've got two recordings here that I captured before. So let's go to desktop 2. Okay. So this, as an example, is what I was capturing on the iPad before. And so this is literally my world famous wireless camera. So it's not Wi-Fi, but it's wireless. It causes all sorts of problems. This is me just, you know, having the interferer in one room, and then I'm taking the iPad and the Sidekick and I'm leaving the room. You can see the utilization drops down, but it's still sort of there. And then now I'm walking back into the room and you can see the utilization climb up again. It's starting to, you know, cause problems. And so that would be like one example of being able to, you know, to troubleshoot a Wi-Fi network. So being able to find, you know, where those issues are coming from. Another example is, you know, another screen recording. So this one goes for about 5 minutes. So it is a little bit longer. But, you know, we're sort of just moving through the bits and pieces here. This was a local shopping center. So lots of Wi-Fi networks. So you can see that first list there. That was all of the local Wi-Fi networks, all the, by the looks of it, Cisco APs. And then it was everything else. I've opened up the access point that I'm currently connected to. I can see the different SSIDs and BSSIDs there. I can see the security that they're using, data rates, spatial streams. And so, you know, once I exit out, maybe we'll just skip ahead a little bit. So I'm now in, I think, a different area. So channel quality. So you can see here, channel quality on 5 gig typically is pretty good. On 2.4, it's not so good. You know, we don't have as much available spectrum, but I can load up, for instance, channel 140 in this case, and I can look at the utilization over time. I've got the noise. So, you know, we can see this is a constantly moving metric. I can move through and look at all the individual channels. I can break those out and drill down into them if I want. Channel 12. We skip ahead a little bit more. I've got my connectivity. And so here we go. I've got my connected AP, channel 140 at minus 48. So it's not too bad. We're running a ping test there. I've got my roaming candidates. So these are the next closest APs to me. And then I've got roaming history, which, you know, I wasn't walking around the shopping center. I was literally sitting at a cafe. But if I'd walked around, you know, and I'd associated to a different AP, this connected access point here, AP22, that would appear in my roaming history. And then we've got the live spectrum. So that's all good and well, but how about we show we'll do a live demo. So let me see if I can get this going. Share my screen here. And there we go. Okay. So this is my iPad screen now live. This is what we are seeing. And we can see here, I've got a couple of issues, right? So now I'll just say these are deliberate, but I've got a signal strength issue and I've got a channel quality issue. Now these are based on the requirement profile down the very bottom. So if I click on that, I can actually see I've got a voice and data requirement here, and it's got the following metrics. And they probably look fairly similar if you've used Ekahau Pro. We've got different, you know, network profiles in there. So if I exit out and I go in, and even just at this high level, I can actually tell the signal strength is a problem because I've got minus 35 and then I've got not available. And not available is basically my second access point that's also broadcasting Cyberdyne systems. That is basically, it doesn't exist. And that's because this access point is just one AP. I don't have a second access point to roam to. So immediately the software is saying, hey, you've got a problem. If you're going to run voice services, I've got nowhere to go. I've got nowhere to roam to in this area. If I wanted to, I can tap on signal strength and I get a drill down. And so I can see, okay, I've got a TP-Link AP here. I can tap on that. And then I've got a little bit more detail, but you can see here, there's only a single SSID is broadcasting. Everything looks pretty good, but I've only got the one access point. So for me, right now, I should not leave this room. If I leave this room, I'm not going to be able to roam to any other access point that's on Cyberdyne that my headset would drop out on this webinar. If I jump down to channel quality, you see that it's saying it's poor. And the nice thing here is that it's saying it's poor and it's actually showing my associated channel right up the top. So I don't have to scroll down to try and find it. I've got it right here, right up the top, and I can tap on this and I can see that, well, you know, I've got 2 SSIDs that are broadcasting on that channel. And that's why it's basically, it's not meeting the criteria that I've set. And that's what we want, right? Particularly on 5 gig, we probably want to try and avoid, you know, channel interference. And that's probably one of the #1 things we see, right, Anthony? We see that all the time.
Yeah.
And then we can go to, you know, let's jump into spectrum. And so we've got our 2.4 spectrum and our 5 spectrum. But if I was troubleshooting, And maybe let me just hold this up so you can see. So I've got the iPad here. What I would probably want to do is I want to orientate that into portrait, and I want to troubleshoot this way because I want to see everything. I don't just want to see 2.4 or 5. I want to see both. So I think that's pretty pretty impressive. You know, we do support the different orientations depending on your device. If I go back out, we can look at the other elements here. So we've got SNR, which looks pretty good. And we can see this over time. And then we've also got connectivity. And so in this case, this was the issue that we were referring to for signal strength. I've got no roaming candidates at all. So that's where the problem is. Now, this all looks pretty good. Let's introduce some problems, right? So the first problem is my little world famous Wi-Fi camera. So we are going to go into channel quality. And let's just switch this on. And we can see channels 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if we change this, and so not only can you see the utilization down the bottom here, but you can also see it increase and decrease as we move away from the device, or if we switch the device off in this case, or we switch it to a different channel. And then we swipe down on there, we go back out, we go and look in spectrum, and we've got the spectrum here. Or again, if we go into portrait, you'll see something like this. So pretty impressive. So I think that traffic light system of just being able to at a glance look at the different problems that you might be having, I think is really, really powerful. I might stop the demo there unless there are questions. I know, Anthony, you wanted to finish with a couple of slides, but are there any? I've seen there's been questions popping up, but I haven't been keeping an eye on them.
Yes, we need you for some of these questions, Grant. They're too technical for me, and I'm in, I think, some of these. So let's start at the top, shall we? So one question asks, can we enable add channels 169 and 173 on the Sidekick?
So the Sidekick scan channels are based on the regulatory domain, but I would recommend to scan all channels. So that way you're getting, you're getting off-channel access points that might be affecting your network as well. I think that's the question that was being asked there.
169 and 173, is that part of 5 gig? Is that additional, right?
No, channel 173, is that what they're asking?
Yeah, 173 and 169.
Yeah, so it will. So my regulatory domain is set to Australia, but if I change the regulatory domain, you'd be able to see the available channels in your network. So
okay,
yeah,
cool. So that answers that question.
Yeah.
How big are the files, and how much space do you need on the device?
How big are the files? So the capture files that I just captured, they are 121 meg was the 4-minute one, I think it was, and the other one was like 9 meg for like the 15-20 second one. So even if you had a lower spec iPad, you'd have enough to record if you want. But from what I believe, the functionality to to sync to the cloud is going to be coming at some point in the future. At least that's what I would want to happen if I was a developer.
This is a really good question from Ed. How do you change the requirement profile for the analyzer, and can you customize it?
So at the moment, the requirement profile is set to voice and data. I do think that would be a great idea to be able to change the requirement profile. So, maybe that will come in a future update. I would think.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Do we need a sound generator for troubleshooting? Well, Grant uses a 2.4 gig video transmitter that's used for drones and things like that. So it's up to you what you use, but there's a whole bunch of things you can use for generating interference, I suppose Anil is asking. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, that's if you want to mimic it, if you're doing that type of thing.
Yeah, preferably you don't come across any interference, but if you don't have a spectrum analyzer, you'll never know if there's a problem or not, because a USB NIC won't pick it up. So, you'll have all sorts of communication issues that you won't, because there'll be drop packets and things like that. So, you do need a spectrum analyzer to be able to visualize this kind of stuff and to troubleshoot it.
So hey, we're at 43 minutes in. I think we've got about another 50 minutes to go. So
yeah, why don't we switch on over to the deck, Grant, and I will present those, and then we can continue typing some of these answers.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just bring this back. All right. So look, I think we've summarized, Analyzer pretty well. So it really is about, you can basically, you've got a mobile device, world's moving towards mobility. You can sort of make it a very, very powerful, troubleshooting tool. So, I know I haven't shown the iPhone, but it is very, very similar. It's just that, the screen's a little bit smaller, but, you can still get just as much information out of the iPhone that you would out of the iPad. It's really just, you've got a bit more screen real estate. So, the applications are at feature parity. The traffic light system, very clear pass and fail, I think is fantastic. I think people have seen very, very easy to navigate, very, very simple to use. So, at Ekahau, we really do try and emphasize the ease of use, perspective with all of our tools. You can basically troubleshoot in any location now as well. So, there's been plenty of times when I've just had my phone and the Sidekick's ready to go, and I can just plug it in and, we can start troubleshooting. And really the application in our whole product suite, whole Connect product suite's about minimizing downtime. So, you don't want the network to go down. You want to be a lot more proactive about the network. If there is an issue, you've got the capability to take the Sidekick, take a mobile device to that area, and you can start to troubleshoot and figure out what's going on pretty quickly. Auto testing against the predetermined requirements. So, that voice and data requirement, someone did comment about, can we change that? I think that would be a fantastic idea. And, if it was me, I think that would be something that we can change, in the future. And, the standardized and accurate measurements is really all about the Sidekick. So Anthony sort of talked about it before. The Sidekicks are what I would sort of class as factory test, factory tuned, I should say. So, the receive sensitivity is very, very similar across all Sidekicks. They do have 7 internal antennas built in. So, the accuracy of the Sidekick is really, what we want to sort of emphasize there. And so, it is a part of the Connect suite of products. So you've got now Ekahau Pro, Ekahau Survey for iOS, you've got Ekahau Capture, you've got Ekahau Cloud, and now you've got Ekahau Analyzer as well. And then obviously, the crown jewel and all of that is the Sidekick. So the Sidekick is what's sort of enabling a lot of the functionality that we've got there. So it really does make a lot of sense with that. So are you ready for your examples, Anthony?
Yep, let's
Okay.
dive into it.
All right.
Okay, so I just put a couple of slides in here that I wanted to go through. So these are projects that the Ekahau guys we've worked on previously without the analyzer. And what I wanted to highlight as we go through this is I wanted to highlight, if we had the analyzer, how could we have used on-site monitoring and troubleshooting to fix some of these problems? So this is actually a project that I went and walked up. This was a hotel being built in Malaysia, and we did a site survey using a Sidekick and an iPad or laptop. I can't remember. And this was trying to decide where to place the APs, right? Should we put an AP in every room? And so we walked in two rooms in this scenario, and we scanned and we looked at the config, and we were going to determine based on the findings where we should have placed these access points. And we found actually that the plan was the APs were going to be back to back in each room, because the rooms were designed to be a mirror of each other. So instead of collecting this data, bringing it back to the office, analyzing it, and making changes, we actually could have walked on site with an analyzer, detected the signals, found the issues of, the AP location and how far the signal reaches, and actually made these decisions and changes on site while we were there. We could have dragged the access point from where its current location, put it at the other end of the room, decided, does the signal still reach, looked at the channel config, looked at the overlap, and say, okay, so we definitely need to make sure that the neighboring rooms are on separate channels. So that's something we need to make sure. So very handy in this situation. It would have been to have an analyzer on site. So that's the first example. If we look at the next example, this is a warehouse in Singapore, big warehouse that we walked around to do a proof of concept for a customer. They used handheld scanners that run on Wi-Fi 2.4 gig, and they were monitoring it using Cisco, the Cisco controllers, and the Cisco controllers, the APs lined up against the walls, so using directional antennas pointing down each laneway in between the racks. And doing that, monitoring APs, you don't know that when the guys with the handheld scanners are scanning the boxes, are they getting enough signal strength, right? Or is signal strength not reaching them? So what we found walking around again with the Sidekick was actually they're not getting enough signal strength in some of these areas of the warehouse. Again, we had to do the site survey, collect the data, go back, run a report. If we had the analyzer with us, we could go back, turn it on, stand where we detected the bad signal strength, see, is this a consistent problem? Is this recurring, or is this, just a one-off that we detected? Is there something blocking the signal, the antenna of the access point? So doing real-time analysis could have helped really troubleshoot the signal strength issues in this warehouse, and being able to show that live and real time would have really been handy. The next slide, Grant. Not only were there signal strength issues in that warehouse, but there was also a whole bunch of channel overlap. Right. So if you look at this slide, the red shows 10 channels overlapping, and the gray shows more than 10 channels overlapping. So if we went and we stood in this gray area and we turned on the analyzer, we could actually show and see in real time, are these all my access points that are on the same channel? Are these third-party APs? What kind of changes do I need to make in this site to resolve these problems? And really, together with the operations manager or the IT team, show them in real time what the issues are, and maybe even start fixing them live on site while we're looking at it. So really handy example here in a big warehouse. Next slide, Grant. Okay, so this is an interesting one. This is a big office building here in Singapore as well. A big customer, they rely on Wi-Fi, right? If Wi-Fi is not working, things are going wrong. So what we found while walking around the site was that there's issues of channel overlap. There's issues, so if you look at the arrows in the middle there, you see channel overlap just as an example in this one area. You also see some misconfigurations on the APs, and what you could also detect is a whole bunch of interference as well. So in this, again, we had to do the site survey, analyze it, make decisions on how to fix it, and fix these issues post site survey. What this customer could do now with the analyzer is maintain the fixes that were made, right? So they can go in, they can stand it under each one of these APs and make sure that before any major event, before any big Skype call or quarterly review, that that the APs are behaving themselves, that things are configured correctly, and that they're maintaining the site performance in this office building. So that's an office example of how we could use Analyzer. And then this goes to show how we worked with this company for capacity. So we looked at, you know, if we had in this small area 300 devices at 2 meg, what would the issues be for capacity? Now with the Analyzer, with the spectrum analysis, we could actually tell how congested each channel was. And doing live monitoring, we could see that channel 6 and 2.4 gig, channel 1 and 2.4 gig, channel 11 is completely congested. So maybe we need to decide how to separate the channels better. In 5 gig, if we've got channel 157, 153, 100, how do we separate the channels? And by doing that, increasing capacity in each part of the building. So very handy to do site surveys, post-analysis, go in with a live analyzer and make sure that we're detecting any issues and resolving any issues in real time. Okay, so that's an office building example. Next one is, and this is an interesting one. This was a big stadium that we did in Australia. Some of you might recognize which one this is, but this is an interesting issue, right? This is an interesting issue where we saw a lot of channel overlap, a lot, and the way that they deployed the access points was just, you know, we need capacity, we need signal, and they just overdid the APs in this stadium. What they didn't realize is if they didn't properly separate the channels, they're completely killing their capacity. So again, to maintain this, regularly walk around the stadium, scanning, making changes to the access points, making sure that the channels, the APs are behaving themselves on each channel, and we're not running into any capacity issues, which is critical for this customer, because they, you know, whether they do application, live streaming, scores, all these funky things the stadiums now can do during live matches, live games, concerts. You want to make sure that you're not just wasting money by buying a lot of access points and they're all running on the same channel. So we're getting up to 20 channels overlapping in this example here. Okay, I think there's one more, is there? Nope, that's the last one. So I just wanted to highlight some real life examples of where we think in different scenarios, different situations, the analyzer could help. And it goes down to live monitoring, it goes into troubleshooting, it goes into maintaining your Wi-Fi, right? So, so I think this is going to be a key component to adding to the Connect bundle. I think you guys are going to love using it as well. So, what's the consensus? Any good comments? What's going on there, Grant? Yeah, Grant's on mute. I'm in. How's it going?
He's on mute. No, he's been busy answering the questions, actually.
Lots of questions. Yeah, lots of questions.
There were, I think you've answered all of them, Grant, but by the look of it, but there is one around the stadium, which is more of a use case around the channel overlap, how to battle or how to overcome such channel overlap.
That's an awesome question. Awesome question. And I'll let Grant answer that one because he's the king of how to stop channel overlap. And actually, before I pass it to Grant, this is the biggest problem in Wi-Fi networks today, right? Anybody running, whether you're using these enterprise APs and auto channel, auto power, or you're going in, you're statically configuring it and trying to maintain proper enterprise quality Wi-Fi, channel overlap's the biggest problem that we're seeing in a lot of sites today, especially if you're buying too many APs, right? The traditional thinking to Wi-Fi is, if I've got Wi-Fi problems, I'll just stick another AP in and that'll fix it, right? Auto channel, auto power is magic, and it'll fix everything. But what we're finding is you really need to keep an eye on it. You need to keep an eye on it. That stadium example was using auto channel, auto power. So that's a hint on the issues that you'll find everywhere. But Grant, what are your thoughts on fixing auto channel, auto power, and channel overlap issues in general?
I mean, for stadium cases, it is very project dependent, right? But at a very high level, I would say, use directional antennas. And so the antenna selection absolutely has to make sense. And you may even need to get multiple different antenna types, go out to, if it is a stadium, go out to the site and test them and see what their patterns look like. You need to understand the capacity. So, what sort of capacity are you going to have? What sort of throughput are you expecting per client? What are you expecting the clients to do? But basically antennas, validate it with Ekahau, RRM is going to come into play as well, which is, I think, what they're sort of talking about as well. Look, we could do a whole webinar on that kind of stuff, but trying to minimize co-channel interference, wide channels, try not to use wide channels, so channel bonding, and really it's about antenna selection. Also keep in mind that when the stadium is either empty, it's going to be different compared to when it's full, because all the human bodies that are in the stadium, they're going to absorb a lot of the RF as well. So, a lot of the time you need to do the testing, not only, when it's empty, maybe to work out, what your baseline is, but then also test when the stadium is maybe not completely full, but, but full enough that you can get a better understanding of what the antenna radiation is going to be. But yeah, that's where I would start. We've got the tools to be able to do that. So, so I think you'd be in good hands.
Now, timing wise, guys, we are on the money. It's top of the hour, impeccable.
All right.
And I think we've answered all of the questions, which is good. Several times people have asked if we're going to be sharing the presentation. Yes, we will. So this has been recorded, and we'll make sure that we do share it. Anthony, you did want to talk about something for the attendees today as well?
Yes. Oh, thanks for reminding me. So for the guys that have stayed till the end, we've got a nice little promo for you guys. So if you are interested in buying a Connect bundle or buying a Sidekick, we're running a promo for you guys. So we're going to email you details right after this, and it's going to be 30 days, 30-day promo, so not longer than that. We're going to get a slap on our wrists for running promos, but we're trying to help you guys out. So we're going to
edit this bit out.
I would share all the details, but we'll email you guys the details and try to take advantage of it if you guys are really interested. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Awesome. Anything else, Amin, from your end?
All good on my side. Thanks again to everybody for joining us. This was
cool.
Cool.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys attending, and hope you guys enjoyed this session as well. Grant, any last words, famous last words?
No, thanks everyone for attending. Great turnout. Yeah, we'll be doing another one pretty soon. So, all right, let's finish it before everyone just disappears and loses interest. And before
Putting back my
Anthony
mask, mate. Putting back my mask.
embarrasses us anymore.
Look, you're lucky it's the Michael Jackson theme that we're doing. So that kind of goes in with that, mate.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Right, take care. Bye-bye.